How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So on today's video, we're going to be going over what's more reliable, a older Honda or the current generation Hondas. I get this question asked to me all the time, so I figured why not? Let's make a video about it. Let's talk about it, and we'll go from there. So for those of you that don't know, I have been a Honda technician since 2008. So I've got a couple years under my belt already. I've seen plenty of things. Before that, I was an independent shop technician. So I've also seen other manufacturing issues as well. And we do have a sister store from Toyota across the street from us that we constantly communicate, and just talk about, ongoing issues on both Toyota and Honda side. So like I said, I started in 2008, and when I started, there was not one single day that there wasn't multiple transmissions inside the shop being replaced. We did 98 to 02 Odysseys, 98 to 02 Accords, both 4 cylinders and V6s, and 01 to 05 Civics were typically the ones we saw in there. Once in a while, we saw a Ridgeline or a Pilot, but that was generally the transmissions we were changing. Along with that, there was tons of suspension issues on those cars, ball joints basically across the lineup, specifically the Accord and the Civics, lower compliance arm bushings on the next generation Accord, so the 03 to 07, Odysseys, Pilots, Ridgelines, tons of compliance bushings as well. So a lot of suspension issues with those generation Hondas. The new ones seem to fare a lot better in that perspective, so that is an improvement that Honda has made. And Honda struts have also made a significant amount of improvement over the years as well, in my opinion. So we also had tons and tons of engine mount failures, specifically the V6s. You just have a lot of power, a lot of torque, and the motor mounts just weren't up to par. So when we were changing mounts, we were basically doing the whole set all the way around, oftentimes 4 or 5 mounts, and obviously that came at a great expense. So also we had a lot of main relay failures at that time. Not really a huge expense, but definitely something that would leave you on the side of the road and very frustrating. So we don't see too many stranded cars now. We do get some. Obviously, starters have always been a thing with Honda. Typically they do last fairly amount of time, but occasionally we see some fail. Alternators on the V6s since the introduction of the VCM have been a big issue, because the VCM solenoid or the spool valve ends up leaking oil over time and damaging the alternator because people don't get to it quick enough. And obviously that could be something that's preventative, although ends up leading to more money than it should. So that pretty much covers the older vehicle stuff. If you have any information, if you're a technician, especially if you're older tech, make sure you chime in, drop a comment down below. Some more common issues that you may have seen if you were a technician back in the day and worked on a lot of those cars. Also, the Civics had engine blocks that were cracking. That was a big warranty extension. I probably did a good 30 or 40 of those in my time, and those were quick money makers. They paid well, and I was more than happy to do them. I think it was a 15-year extension, and it was just a casting issue on the block, and it ended up leaking coolant, overheating, and needing replacement. So yeah, moving on to today's cars. Obviously, since the introduction of a GDI and turbos, that's just a recipe for disaster and a nightmare when it comes to maintenance. So a lot of people like to follow the Honda maintenance minder. I particularly don't. I like to do my own maintenance at my own terms. Typically oil changes from 3,000 to 5,000 miles. I don't care what oil you're using. I'm going to do 3,000 miles on each and every single one of my vehicles, especially on my TLX, where I kind of drive it hard and it's may gain more power than initially was. So obviously it needs more maintenance. But I also have a 19 Pilot, which I followed the same routine, basically 3,000 to 3,500 miles. But anyways, moving on. So yeah, over time, those engines are going to create more sludge and more carbon than a non-GDI turbo engine would. So that's obviously an issue right by design. So with that being said, that's automatically going to cost more money down the road. We're seeing a ton of issues, specifically with the 1.5T, which is in a ton of Hondas and Acuras at this time. So if you've been watching my channel, you know I am not a fan of the 1.5T. I think it's one of the worst Honda engines ever designed, and it's just going to keep costing people tons and tons of money. But anyways, some of the failures that we're seeing, right? We see some radar failures, radar and camera failures. We see more radars being stolen. Not really obviously an issue Honda is having. Although if you own one of these vehicles, it's going to cost you money if it's stolen, whether you have a deductible or not. So that's something to consider on a newer vehicle. Going back to the GDI engines, we're seeing a ton of injector failures on basically all of them: Pilots, Ridgelines, Civics, Accords, and CRVs 1.5T, and then obviously the 3.5 found in the Pilots and Ridgelines. So we are seeing some injector failures basically on all those models. On the 1.5T, we are seeing turbo failures around 120 to 150K. Not that the turbo itself is failing, although the actuator gets loose, a wastegate actuator, and Honda doesn't sell that separately. Now, I know you can buy those from an aftermarket source, which is fine, but we're not going to do that at the dealer. Luckily, most of these turbos are warranted up to 150K, which is nice in that perspective. It's considered emissions for whatever reason, at least here in Jersey. So we're seeing injector failures, we're seeing turbo failures, we're seeing head gasket failures. Again, if you watch my channel, you'll know this already. Between 40 and 80,000 miles is your typical failed range. Now, we've seen them fail before and some fell after, but most of them, majority of them, are failing between 40 and 80,000 miles. So obviously, if you're under 60K, you're going to be covered on a warranty. If you're over that and you don't have an extended warranty, then it's going to come out of pocket. So any new car you buy, I don't care what manufacturer it is, make sure you are purchasing their extended warranty. Stay away from that aftermarket warranty stuff. Those warranties are no good. They typically don't cover anything, and they're just there to get you money. If you purchase Honda or Acura Care, then one big major repair is going to pay for itself. So it's well worth it if you intend on keeping a car past 60K, or if you're financing it and not leasing it. If you're leasing it, I probably want to get it. Doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so if you were to ask me what vehicle to buy today, fairly new or something reliable, something affordable, I would say 13 to 17 Accord, or the first generation HRV, or the 12 to 16 Honda CRVs. Any of those would be my pick as of right now. I think they're some of the most reliable Hondas, and they're still fairly newer and affordable. So overall, great package in any of those vehicles. I do have a review on all three of those vehicles in my channel if you are interested. So once again, anything newer, make sure you're purchasing Honda Care, Acura Care. Any major failure is going to pay for itself in one shot. So just by default, the fact that we are seeing more EPA implications, more EPA demands, and more tech being added to all these cars, a newer car is just going to cost you more money down the road. There's just no way around it. So by default, I would just say newer cars are less reliable, in my personal opinion. You may have a different opinion. If you do, make sure you share your opinion down in the comment section down below, and we'll have a conversation about it. So with that being said, guys, hopefully this video is helpful to somebody out there, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.